So let's start off with a round of observations, comments, anything from the last week. I'm going to start with you, Maisa.
So the last photo reportage was super exciting for me. I kept looking for an event that is going to happen in Tunisia, but honestly, nothing much had happened. But since we have public referendum about our new constitution that is going to happen on the 25th of July, and since I am planning on participating in it, I went to take part in the interview in order to be selected to control the referendum. And I took pictures of that and sent them to my mentor, Anne,
Very good.
yesterday.
Okay.
Other than that, everything has been super exciting for me. It's a new experience and I am enjoying every session. I think that's very obvious.
Excellent. It's so nice to get this kind of feedback. Great. Palkin, how are you?
Hello.
Hi, Palkin. How are you? How's your week? What observations have you got for us?
I felt that the last session was amazing because I'm particularly interested in photojournalism. So, though I couldn't attend it that well because I was traveling that day, but it was great, honestly. And yeah, that's about it. I guess just like excited for today's session.
Okay, very good, excellent. Barakat.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and well, actually this afternoon I was out to the main square in Seoul and taking some photos. Some Catholic nuns were out campaigning system change, not climate change, and they were out with signboards. And I was really happy, taking their picture and also remembering the course. So,
excellent.
Yeah, interesting. Thank
you. Good. Anita.
Okay, so yeah, it was really interesting. I couldn't attend the lecture last week because I was working, and then at this event that I actually took pictures of, but I'm quite sorry that it didn't turn out as good as I thought it could, but I'm sorry because I had like a lot of things that came up regardless of like work and health and stuff. So I hope there's going to be another like opportunity for us to like do a photojournalism article. So I guess, but it was really interesting to see like the lecture, even if it wasn't there.
Okay, good, excellent, good. Just one comment. Nonviolent journalism is not to become a source of suffering for anyone. If someone gets ill, if someone needs to take time off to do anything, absolutely no problem. So we're not interested in suffering very much. So.
No, but I'm actually sorry because it's something that really interests me. So that's why, but yeah, I'll catch up anyway.
Definitely. And once we've got through the first, once we've got through all of these workshops, Anita, which is like the first 13 weeks of this course, then after that, then, you're free to, in discussion with your mentor, to develop any kind of idea for any kind of article that you would like. So,
okay, great.
So you will have lots of freedom and lots of opportunities. Snigdha, how are you? What's new from Leeds?
Hi, I'm good. Like surprisingly nothing new except the weather has been nice for the past couple of days. But it's quite a lull in the city, like no major events, nothing happening. I don't know why it seems like everybody is just enjoying summer days in Hyde Park and stuff. But yeah, as we discussed in the mentor meeting, I was looking forward to going to like one of the food shelters and maybe get a chat with someone, but like some of them got closed which were there near my place, and then the other were just too far away for me to travel right now. So I'm still looking for another idea for like photo journalism. But on the other side, my interview article is just ready. I've sent it to the person also to kind of have their say, like look at the article if they have any issues with it or if they want to change anything before it goes up. So I'm hoping to get their changes and everything by today evening, and hopefully I'll be able to send it by tomorrow.
Excellent. Good news. Bruna, how are you? You can't turn the mic. Okay. All right. We see you. We see you in the chat box. Okay. So today's lecture is on the subject of valid action. Is it the same to do one thing or another? Are all actions the same? Or if we ask in another way, do all the actions we do have the same value? If this is not true, how can we know which action has more value, which is better and which is worse, or which is good and which is bad? In our experience, not everything is equal. There are neutral actions that make us neither better nor worse. There are others that harm us, which are contradictory. And finally, there are other actions which are very positive and which we call valid actions. In universalist humanism, the foundation of valid action is neither given by ideology nor by religious commandments, beliefs, or social legislation, even when these things may be very important. The basis of valid action is not given by any of these things. It is given rather by the internal register of the action, of how it feels to us when we do something. And what is the register of a valid action? The register is one that we experience as unitive. We feel good and in agreement with ourselves because we are thinking, feeling, and acting in the same direction. And we are treating others as we would like to be treated. The register also gives us the sensation of internal growth. This is the sensation that something has improved within us when we acted that way. And it is also something that we want to repeat, something that we would do 1,000 times over if we could. It extends into the future and gives us a project for the future in the sense that if we could repeat this action, something would continue to grow and improve inside of us. So the 4 points of valid action, which is a definition which we will use from now on, thinking, feeling, and acting in the same direction. So when our thoughts and our feelings and our actions all align, yeah, treating other people as we would like to be treated, a desire to repeat the action, and a feeling of personal growth. So in this first exercise that we're going to do is on the subject of personal coherence. Yeah. So if my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions are in agreement, if they all go in the same direction, if my actions do not create a contradiction with what I feel, then I can say that my life has coherence. But though I am true to myself, this does not necessarily mean I am being true to those in my immediate environment. I still need to achieve this same coherence in my relationships with others, treating them the way I would like to be treated. Of course, there can also be a destructive type of coherence, which can be seen in those who are racists or fanatics, or those who are violent or exploit others. It is clear, however, that their relationships with others are incoherent because they treat others very differently from the way they desire to be treated themselves. When we experience differences between our thinking, our feeling, and our actions, many different emotions may arise, some of which I'm going to show you here. So for instance, if my thoughts are different to my feelings, yeah, so if what I think is correct, my feelings that go in the opposite direction, I can have an internal register of hypocrisy. There's an example here. An employee despises their superior but pretends deference in order to not lose the job, which is needed to feed the family, for instance. Reverse those two things around, we might have a feeling of stupidity. Yeah. If my thoughts go in the opposite direction to my actions, yeah, I can have a feeling of going backwards, of regression. So for instance, obeying orders that go against our better judgment or our integrity. Further examples, if my actions and my feelings go in the opposite direction, I might have a sensation of humiliation or a feeling of emptiness when my thoughts and my actions go in opposite directions. And finally, if my thoughts and my feelings and my actions are all going in completely different directions, then all kinds of things can appear. Feelings of vengeance, envy, disheartenment, boredom, or nihilism. However, if I manage to put my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions in the same direction, the feeling that I have inside my register is a register of coherence and a sense of meaning. The example of this is making positive choices that open up the future in any situations we happen to find ourselves in, always trying to find the most positive aspects in others. This often is associated, in fact, you might be difficult to find other experiences, when we give of ourselves without thinking about what's going to come back to us in return. That is our concept for today. Thinking, feeling, and acting in the same direction as a way of producing internal coherence and a solidarity with others, treating people the way that they would like to be treated. So first of all, any questions? Any questions about any of that, of what we've just seen? In which case, we're going to move into the first exercise, which we're going to do in groups. David, if you could set up 2 groups of 3 for us. 20 minutes we're going to spend on this, using the annex, which a chart further on in the document which I've sent. Take 10 minutes by yourselves just to make to chart the levels of coherence or contradiction in your own life. Different aspects of your life, your home life, your relationship with a partner, if you have one, in your work or in study, with your friends, and generally in society. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you do? So we want to find out which aspects of your life are producing sensations that we can call contradiction, and those areas where we can find coherence. So the first part is a 10-minute work by yourself, reflecting on your life, on those different areas of your life. You can use this table to make a few notes for yourself, and then the following 10 minutes in your group, share your observations. Again, as we've always said in all of these workshops that deal with these personal topics, everything that is said in here stays in here. This is a safe space. We don't want anyone going out from here and talking about other people's experiences without their express permission. So, any comments, any thoughts, any observations? How were your discussions? How was the work?
I think it was really interesting, actually, because we all live like different realities, but at the same time, we have things in common as always. Every time we discuss in these workshops, we can find out that we have lots of things in common and many things that are totally different, but we still manage to, it's nice. It was really nice.
And in terms of the review of your life and this search for feelings of coherence, were you able to find some examples? Or is everything contradiction? If everything's contradiction, that's really sad, but hopefully everyone has some amounts of, even a minimal amount of coherence in their life to know what the feeling is like.
Nobody has to listen to
Sorry, I've got my pessimistic hat on at the moment.
Good notice, yeah.
Okay, good. Then we'll move on to the second part. So, and this is the topic of solidarity. So the universal principle to treat others the way you would like to be treated appears today to be totally ignored, generally in the system, as competition and individualism promote social fragmentation. This principle exists in all cultures and religions in their humanist moments, though. And here are different examples of the way that the golden rule has been expressed in different cultures. Yeah? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is a quote of Jesus Christ, whether you believe him mythical or actual historical person or not. This is reported as something that he said. And there are examples from different cultures and different religions. So from Buddhism, from Islam, from the Sikh faith, Christianity, Hinduism, The Alu is the Zoroastrians, and the Talmud is from Judaism. But there are others, and you can go back centuries and millennia. The Greeks had a way of talking about this 2,000 years ago, and so on and so forth. So it's been there for a while. It's not new, and it kind of indicates that it's something that connects human beings from all cultures and all moments of history. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at this topic a little bit again in our personal lives, using this the table further on, Annex 2. We're going to do a piece of personal reflection again, looking for the moments in your life when you treated people in an incoherent way, in a negative way, and then other moments when you treated people in a positive way out of solidarity. Yeah, and the idea is just to get an idea of how we feel in those times. We want to compare the registers. In our philosophy here, we do things not because they're written down in commandments in a Bible, not because there's a law that says we have to behave in a certain way, but purely because it feels coherent for us to treat people in a particular way. So again, the next 20 minutes of this workshop, we're going to put you back into the same groups, and we're going to do the work that is proposed there, and we'll bring you back together in 20 minutes. Comments, thoughts, ideas, and if there's none, then I don't think you've done the work.
I think me and Maisa, we had a long chat, and I think the first thing we understood was like how different it is when you're treating people in a professional setting as opposed to your personal lives. It is a completely different ball game, and what is positive and what is negative. Because in personal lives, I think it is easier, even if you do make a mistake, even if you do treat someone badly, to kind of come back and resolve the situation. Whereas in professional setting, because there is obvious power hierarchy and one party has more power than the other, those things can take like a different picture altogether. And I think when we were discussing about registers of us being on like the receiving end of positive or like negative energy in that sense, I think both of us had like a similar experience of being misunderstood by people a lot, because I think we're just like strong, opinionated women. So, and I am quite loud. So I think we come across as intimidating. And like I've had people thought of me as I have too much attitude, or I have too much ego, or etc., etc. And it's just like after they've interacted with me, they'll be like, oh, you are not what we thought you were. So I think it is a very common misconception. Just like if you are strong, opinionated, people will just like kind of think of you in a certain way. So yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it also depends how people prioritize different things. Like if you're an overly emotional person, then you will get hurt quite easily, and anything, even if the other person was not doing it intentionally, you would think that it's a personal attack on you, and vice versa. If you're a more detached or logical person, things bit different. So I think each and every situation is so complex, is the conclusion at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And notice, I mean, there's an action of the system going on as well here, Snigdha, something that you picked up on. You know, when a man speaks his mind and says what he thinks, gives his opinion, he's passionate. When a woman does the same thing, she's emotional. Yeah, and they pick a word, emotional, which has got very negative connotations, because you know women are emotional, and therefore you know it's a bad thing, and you don't want to bring that to your professional world. But when a man does it, they don't call a man emotional, or unless you're in an environment in which there are people who are thinking in these things, and they'll pick you up on it. But generally, yeah, in general, you know, the standards for men and women are often different. Obviously, it depends on the culture that you're in. Some cultures are more archaic, more intolerant than others, let's say. But yes, this can happen, and the system, the system is incoherent, is contradictory, and it's throwing this at us all the time, and we have to deal with it. Anita?
No, I was thinking about what you were saying, so I kind of zoned out because this is very. No, I was also thinking, like, from what you were saying, it almost looks like they want to divide us, by putting so many. It's almost made on purpose by people in power. But yeah, no, in our group, we all share like different experiences. Again, it became like an actual conversation in groups. So I wouldn't have any like example, but it was really very interesting to hear their experiences and their thoughts. And yeah, we tried to come up to a way to like try and always, like we were saying, Brun was saying, we should try and practice that breathing thing that was given to us in one of the readings. But then, yeah, I mean, and we were trying to understand like how long, because as long as we need to try and be able to do it once, so that we try and do it more and more and more, so it becomes a habit. But it's also hard. So yeah, we need to start somewhere.
Absolutely, another interesting point that you bring up there is that our behavior is not set in stone. Yeah, we are beings with a consciousness, with an intentionality, and we have the opportunity at every time to stop and decide which action do we want to do moving forward. We are not beings which just receive a stimulus and give a response. Yeah, we have the capacity to think and say, okay, what is the correct response? We can even pause and say, right, I'm not going to give a response now, I'm going to give a response in the future. So, and we can learn this behavior. Our behavior can be modified over time, but we have to be more awake. We have to increase in our level of consciousness. Most of us live in a kind of semi-sleep. Yeah, we're half awake, half asleep. Something happens. Our mind is taken by, oh look, there's that bird out there. What's it doing? And often, our attention is taken away because we're not quite in a very vigilic level all of the time of our life. And obviously you can't be in an incredibly vigilic level every single moment in your life. It wouldn't work. But in moments when we want to be applying our attention to a particular things, it's useful to be able to say, okay, right, now I need to concentrate and try and apply yourself to a particular topic. Nisa, any comments, any thoughts on what you've heard and experienced in that part of the workshop?
Yeah, I was in the same room with Nigta, so she technically summarized everything that we talked about. And I wanted to add something to what you mentioned, Tony, about about how women are treated in comparison to men, for example, when they say their opinions, because we discussed that in our first breakout room along with Patkin, and we talked about how sometimes societies don't understand women's situations, or sometimes we end up we find several situations where women are the ones who are blamed in extreme situations, blaming the victim, if I might say. And we link that to our lifestyle and our culture and our education as well. And we talked about how sometimes lack of education is what leads to that misconception and misunderstanding. But sometimes people do have the necessary education, but they just don't want to change their opinions and just stick to these extreme opinions without being considerate of anything else. And I noticed that Snigdha and I had very similar situations as well, like she mentioned, especially in relation to being strongly opinionated, and we give off that aura. Sometimes when I am just walking in the streets, I give off that aura of being strong or maybe aggressive, if I might say. But and people told me that they thought that I was too arrogant at the beginning, or that I was too distant from them. But then when they got to know me, they realized that I am not that very serious of a person and things
Mhm.
like that. So yeah, that's a lot I wanted to add.
Thank you. Barakat?
Yeah, we had an interesting discussion in our group. But anyways, it's much related with condition. We are very much conditioned by the society or maybe religion and the education system and things like that. So we don't treat others, the way how we want to be treated, actually, because we just reflect the way how we conditioned. So maybe the simple recommendation is to be, aware of the situation and thing, and develop some understanding, deep understanding and compassion.
Mhm.
Such things, if we in a daily basis, if we practice, we might be aware, and we maybe can, develop this attitude. That's really very positive attitude. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, and there are a couple of points here. The system does not treat us the way that we want to be treated. The system is a source of incredible contradiction and suffering, and it imposes its rules on the population. And that's part of the purpose of nonviolent journalism is to overthrow this system, which treats people like objects and objects that it can use for other human beings benefit from treating the vast majority of the world's population like objects, like things that they can consume and dispose of. So, this is a very important theme for us. And the world treats us all very, very badly, and it causes all kinds of problems with us in our personal lives, in our relationships with other people. And what do we do in order to try and change that? Are we trying to change the system, or are we, resorting to drugs or alcohol or shopping or television or football or whatever it is? The system provides a lot of ways for people to try and forget, to anesthetize themselves to the suffering that it generates. But for us, we are, as part journalists, part activists, we're interested in actually changing those conditions and actually showing all of the good things that are happening, because people are doing valid actions every day all over the world. It's just we don't really get to see it from the news. Who haven't I called on? Bruna.
Me.
Yes.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I need to say part of what we talk about in our group, and yeah, I don't know. I think I guess I would point out that when I was talking about my positive actions, my negative actions, and maybe like, okay, yeah, if I recall those negative actions, maybe it's like I feel bad about them and I would like to change them, and they kind of haunt me sometimes. But in the positive ones, one I remembered, maybe it's like I didn't get that fulfilling feeling that we've been talking about in the class, and that I've read in the text for the workshop. And I don't know, it's like I didn't, from the actions I remember, the positive ones. It's not like, oh, I would definitely repeat this. It makes me happy, or like an inner growth feeling or stuff. So I don't know if anyone like felt that way. I think it was Barakat that I don't know if it was Barakat or Anita who said like, no, maybe it's like the actions, like you don't necessarily help someone, maybe it's like anyone, make them feel good. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else from the other group felt like that. I don't know, Snigdha has her hand
Yeah,
up.
Snigdha, what did you have to say?
I was just thinking, like, I mean, as we were discussing earlier on, I've been in a situation where it is very difficult to contradict or to kind of confront people in front of you, because you know how will they react or whether they will even listen to you or not. But something very personally that I have started to do is, like, I'm very conscious of the way I write. Like, it's been like since 4 or 5 years, because I think words matter a lot, and the kind of vocabulary you use, I'm like very conscious of using gender neutral language when I'm using. I don't care if it's an academic work or if it's a journal article or if it's just my personal diary. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're writing, you have to be conscious the kind of words you're using. If you're describing something, then why are these adjectives or these adverbs you're using to describe it? You have to kind of scrutinize, because those come out of your conditioning and your biases. Those descriptors come out of that. Like, why are you saying that a man, you are telling, oh, he's like aspirational, or you're saying that he's ambitious, but you're using, being a woman, you're using a different adjective when you're talking about a woman. So why is that? So I think that is something on a very personal, on a one-on-one level, that I think as a writer has something like really been my focus to practice and be very conscious of the kind of words I use.
Good, good. And it's a very important topic. And the subject of semantic violence, I think, will be coming up in a future workshop. Have I picked on everyone? I think I've picked on everyone. So the final exercise, which I put down for 10 minutes, but let's see if we can do it in 5, is a personal work. We're looking now. We're reflecting in our lives, and we are looking for those actions that have fulfilled the 4 qualities of valid action, which, as I showed before, are this one: thinking, feeling, and acting in the same direction, treating others as we would like to be treated, a desire to repeat the action, and a feeling of personal growth. Now, if you do find it difficult to find some examples of that, I am not surprised, because the world that we live in is putting on huge pressures, and it's often difficult to be able to act in coherence and solidarity. But as I said earlier in the presentation, often if you think about actions where you've given something, your time, your time or your resources to someone else without even thinking about getting anything in return, there you will find a good source of valid actions, I am sure. So take 5 minutes until 28 minutes past, and then just have a personal reflection, see what you can come up with, and then I will present what is going to be the homework for next week. So let's wrap it up there. Obviously, once we finish the workshop, you can all go and continue making more notes for yourself if you would like to. So our homework for the week, it's described in the lesson plan that I sent out before the workshop. But this week, participants are set the task of preparing an article for publication, looking for examples of valid action in the world. The world is full of people doing good works for the benefit of others. They very rarely get the space in the media. One of the tools of nonviolent journalism is precisely that of subject selection. And another one of the tools is also to do with the voices, the people that we give space to in the media. So both those 2 tools will come in helpful here. So what we would like you to do is to write a new story about an example of valid action in the world. It doesn't have to be more than a page. It can be longer, but a page of A4 maximum, and you're doing good. Okay, I'll see you all next week.